everyone, this is Pico Entertainment and we are back again, and here now we have another video for you, and we're going to talk about James Bond and the recent breaking news that the franchise has now been taken over by Amazon and what it means going forward for the character in future years. Now this news dropped early on Thursday the 20th of February 2025, evoking a lot of concerns and reactions, especially with hardcore fans. Now before giving my thoughts on this, it would be good to give some context overall, and I shouldn't really need to explain what James Bond is. We all know what the character stands for. Perhaps cinema's most iconic cinematic hero, the super spy that was spawned from the Ian Fleming novels, began with his first cinematic appearance with Dr. No in 1963, played by Sean Connery, and over the next 50 years, the character has captivated multiple generations of viewers, including myself, with all of his globetrotting adventures, full of action, adventure, escapism, romance, espionage, and mystery. Going on to currently become one of the most successful movie franchises of all time, and the franchise itself, in terms of its film rights, were originally purchased by Albert R. Broccoli and Harry Saltzman, who funded the company Eon Productions, and working with the movie studio United Artists, went on to produce the movies, and for all of the 25 installments, they were produced with complete creative control within the Broccoli family, becoming sole producers of the franchise since 1975. They also would work with MGM Studios, who acted as the distribution. Now, in terms of when Amazon comes into play here, when they acquired MGM Studios for over $8.45 billion back in 2022, they then claimed exclusive rights to the whole of the James Bond catalogue, as well as the other films within the MGM Studios library. And as anybody who subscribes to Amazon will be able to see, all of the movies are available to watch on that platform. But despite this, creative control still remained with the Broccolis, currently with the daughter Barbara Broccoli and her half-brother Michael J. Wilson. So essentially Amazon couldn't produce or change anything about the movies or the character without the Broccolis' approval. Now post the release of the last installment, No Time to Die, back in 2021, there have been reported disputes between the two parties as to where and when the next direction of the character should take place. Impressions were that the Broccolis were determined to take their time, as what they've always done if you look right throughout the overall trajectory in terms of the franchise, where you would get a run of films with a certain actor and then there would be a break of around 4 to 6 years before we would then get the next interpretation. And this was in many ways so that they could make sure that the integrity of the character was maintained. Whilst Amazon, it seems, as a streaming company, wants to push forward with multiple installments and spin-offs, expanding very much on the franchise, and this concerned the Broccolis that the character would become compromised as a result. Well, it seems overall that Amazon's influence eventually won the day, as Barbara Broccoli has recently stated that she would indeed be stepping back from production to focus much more on her arts and charitable projects. Now, we could endlessly speculate as to what exactly caused Barbara Broccoli's decision, what exactly went on behind the scenes in order to make her cede control. But it's probably more valuable to talk about what happens next. And now that Amazon will have complete creative control, they will now be able to make multiple movies, series, animated content if necessary, whenever they want to. Now, viewing briefly on the immediate reactions, it seems that a lot of fans are obviously concerned and very disapproving of this news, and honestly I share those concerns. Now, whilst we can't yet predict what exactly will happen, you're always very wary when a streaming company takes over a famous IP, because their number one priority is content, and the quantity of content rather than the quality. As a streaming service, you need to produce content every week, every month, every year to justify people subscribing. Now, as we all know, the more that the content continues to be produced, you will get the inevitable diminishing returns. And we do know that quality and integrity do get compromised, especially within streaming content, where again, it's more about the watch hours and the subscriptions. That's all that matters. Now, yes, whilst the James Bond movies have varied in terms of quality, for the most part, the essence has remained of presenting that super spy agent who was always sent on a mission to do his duty by saving the world from the elaborate supervillain, whilst embracing the adventure and the thrill of using all of the guns and the gadgets and sleeping with the sexiest women. In short, James Bond is the ultimate escapist entertainment fantasy. And the franchise has sustained for so many decades because the films have been individual standalone stories. Requiring no knowledge of the previous movies, you simply could go in there and enjoy the story and follow it from start to finish. And despite so many iconic villains and Bond girls and other supporting characters, James Bond was always the central focus, the heartbeat and the driving force behind the films. And in terms of a standalone film series, this standalone approach is absolutely fine. We've seen something very similar in terms of the Mission Impossible movies. But when you want to make content from a streaming platform, as mentioned before, you will eventually fall into that trap of expansion for the sake of numbers. Eventually you'll get films on other supporting characters, you'll get prequel stories, variants of other characters, race swapped characters, gender bent characters, and that is simply not James Bond. Now yes, that approach in terms of expanding the franchise can be very successful. We only need to look at the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But of course, within recent years, we've seen the issues that can arise from the oversaturation of content. And if we're being honest, Marvel really experienced big problems when the Disney Plus streaming service came into play, and as well as getting 3 movies a year, we were also getting 4 streaming shows a year. And we've definitely seen how the franchise has been affected from that approach. Now, when we look at James Bond, it is 100% a standalone story, where he is a white Caucasian male in his late 30s, and no other interpretation is right for the character. And because the franchise is so successful, you do know that Amazon will be looking to exploit or milk it as much as possible. How long will it be before James Bond eventually becomes black or gay or trans or all of the above? And make no mistake, this will not be creative choices. This will not be organic storytelling. All of these changes or configurations will all be there for the sake of triggering algorithms, generating hate clicks and views, just to get those first week sales or first week watch hours so that they can satisfy all of their shareholders. Now, yes, I might be being a bit negative here, but we only need to look at how Amazon has treated Lord of the Rings with the Rings of Power series, and that alone would be enough to make you very concerned as a major James Bond fan as to what exactly they're going to do with this character and this franchise. Now, due to the overall success and cultural lastability of James Bond, you'd think Amazon would be smart and try to stick as closely as possible to the true nature of the character. But as we've seen so many times, eventually money and ego, and it's sad to say, diversity initiative will eventually get in the way, and I just can't see how we won't be seeing any extreme or radical choices to this iconic character. Again, I hope that I'm wrong. I hope that there are enough people within Amazon to see sense and understand what the franchise means. I don't understand how you can't. James Bond is easily one of the most simple, straightforward characters within all of entertainment. If you cannot understand what makes James Bond so special, then you really shouldn't be in charge of handling the franchise. So hopefully Amazon will see sense and understand that they have a successful franchise that is still very culturally relevant today. And for me personally, I want to see a return back to basics approach to James Bond, the womanizer, the individual who is happy to go about his adventures, who is happy saving the world, who carries much more of that charm and swagger that certainly I think got lost within the last couple of Daniel Craig installments, where it was much more of a deconstructive, emotionally burdened take on a character, which certainly had its merits, and I think Daniel Craig performed very well in the role. But as his run of films went on, we could see that there was further a departure away from what the character truly meant in terms of the overall spirit of the status that has carried him for so long for entertainment. So we'll wait and see what happens, but right now at this news, I'm not very optimistic at all. Again, it's not about being a gatekeeper or showing any deep hate towards Amazon, but you only have to look at how many franchises and reboots have been handled for over the last 10 to 15 years, whether it will be the Star Wars franchise or the DC characters or the He-Man franchise. All of this again makes me hugely concerned. Perhaps the only bright spot is Cobra Kai that recently came to a close within the Netflix platform. That show was the one example and a blueprint of how to treat a franchise right and continue and successfully make it appealing for modern day audiences. So who knows, maybe we will see that same approach when dealing with this character, but at this stage I'm really not convinced at all. Say some other thoughts and feelings when reporting on the recent news of Amazon now taking creative control of James Bond, perhaps the most iconic screen character within all of cinema. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you have any other movies, television series, or any other issues within the pop entertainment and culture scene that you'd like to see me cover within the channel, then also let me know within the comments, and I will see if I can provide further commentary for you on those topics within the future. Please consider hitting like the subscription and notification buttons so I can provide you with more high quality content like this in the future. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you very, very soon.